What is going on, everyone, and welcome in. We are now live. So, doing a little bit of live trading this morning. The first thing, I think I just took a little scalp. I only have 100 shares left. I like to leave a little bit left to ride. Very small scalp on Job, which had news of paying off some debt. Not the best market for pennies, especially stocks under a dollar. However, we have a nice little gap here on Job. I can see Job going up to like 75 cents, but then again, it needs to get a lot more momentum. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to leave my 100 shares on. I have a sell at 67 cents, and we'll see if that hits. That's it. I just kind of took my 2% scalp because that's the type of market we're in for the bulk of my shares, and I'm going to leave 100 to ride because I just don't want to have FOMO in case it goes flying. So other than that, though, that's the only thing I've done today, and other than that, I'm pretty much cash. So what I've been looking for, at least, is I have an idea. We're going to talk about that idea, that trade idea for the open, and we'll see. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work out. Obviously, we'll let it play out. I'm not going to do anything pre-open because could be some volatility at the open. If we look at SPY really quick, SPY pulling back here. It was up a little bit in the pre-market hours, pulled back a little bit, so it's looking like it wants to open red, but it's pushing up a little bit as of right now. So we'll see if SPY holds up, and we'll go from there. Let's take all of our money out of the market. At the end of the day, they need retail, right? They need retail to come in and be stupid with their money. So they need us, but we'll see how this plays out. OCGN is the one that also looks really strong. I think $7 would be a target I'd have. I was thinking about it, but I mean, in this market, I don't want to buy it up here. I would buy a dip off VWAP or something, but let it come back down. OCGN, this could be the one that has a lot of volume so far. It's got a lot of volume. So it's got 6 million volume, it looks like, so far, which is pretty impressive for at least right now. I think basically across the board, we got ATHE has got 3.5. We got WBT, a higher price stock, but it's got 1.3 million volume. So yeah, Job is pushing up. Well, not really. Job's pulling back a little bit, but it's got Job. What is Job? They got about 1 million volume. They just had news, so that kind of marinate a little bit. We'll see. But the play that I was looking at, and I think I might go for, we'll see how it opens. It's probably my number one watch at the open, will be Viacom. Reason why, VIAC. Reason why is because there's been a pattern, okay? Here's a pattern. So past couple days, what do we notice? We get, within the first couple hours of the market being open, usually the first 1 to 2 hours, we get some volatility. We get some movement, right? Now, Viacom is an interesting stock. So if you take a look at what happened, right, after the massive block sells and whatever happened, weeks ago, this and the liquidation that happened, right, with some big funds and firms, this was an obvious buy, right? It's too obvious. You do their numbers, you talk about where they're sitting at right now. It was too obvious to buy this stock for a reversal back to like $70, relatively short term. So that's exactly why it's selling off, because it was too obvious of a buy. And so it's going to bleed out everybody who thought that until they can't take it anymore, until they forget about it. And then that's when they're going to run it up. But I'm not looking to run it up today. I'm looking for a day trade idea on it because it's been doing the same type of thing. So what I was looking at as I'm saying, okay, it's downtrending. So maybe the short side's probably where you want to be, especially if the market's red today. The short side could be where you want to be. And I will do that if we get a pop. So we've been actually noticing that in the first, little bit of the market being open, Viacom pops. And ideally what I would like to see is a pop at the open, get this thing up, and let's see where we're looking at. We're right here, we're at 30, just under 38. I would like to see a pop to like 38.25, 38.50, get it up to this range. That's where I would potentially think about shorting it, right? If it pops like that, I would look for a short. I wouldn't be going in big, obviously, but that would be the idea for this thing to then fade it back on off throughout the day and come back down towards where it opened up. Now, the reason why I'm thinking that is that if we get that, I'd like the short side, especially because the market is down. So if SPY stays red on the day, I definitely like the short side on Viacom. Just because sentiment right there, overall sentiment would be on your side. That's the thought process. So we'll see how it plays out. What I've been watching is that, you can get an open pop. And so could I play it? Could you play it where you grab some shares right now and you set some sells at like 38.25, and what does that put you at right now for an open pop? You could do it, and that would put you at, let's say, that's like a 1% move. Cool. If you want to do that, you can do it, I guess. But I'm looking for maybe like a 2% type of move on this thing after we get a spike up or down. Now, if we get a spike, if we get a massive knife down at the open, this thing comes down, hits a new low compared to yesterday, it goes below 37.33. That's my line from yesterday's low. That would be a potential idea for, run it back to the upside if we get an absolute spike down. And I would look for somewhat of a double bottom. I'd look for some consolidation and a sign of a reversal first before I would take it. But that's at least my idea. I mean, we are seeing a little bit. You could play options on this one too, I guess. But I'm not going to do that. That's at least, I noticed that pattern. It's been on my radar. So that's it. Outside of that, what else do we have? We have Job. What's Job doing? Job is at 63 cents. So I just left 100 shares on from that little scalp. I think I took it from like 61 to 63. So whatever percentage that is, it's cool. But in this market, that's all you're going to get. I mean that's all I'm looking to take on the bulk of those shares. And then we take a look at the day trade. I mean, if you look at the daily chart on Job, this thing has room up to 80 cents. But the problem is that I don't know if it's going to happen. They just did an offering, I believe. So they get some good news post-offering. You usually get that gap fill. But in this market, I don't know if we're going to get that gap fill. It doesn't look bad, though. It looks like it's setting up. I'll take profit at 67 if it hits. And then, I'm fine letting it do what it does. SNDL short squeeze. Here's the thing. Well, what's SNDL doing? Here's the thing with SNDL. I think SNDL is going down to like 75 cents. I think SNDL is going to the 200 SMA, which is at 68. I would say after yesterday. It was a perfect example of buy the rumor, sell the news into 420 pop, and then it's going to come down. 75 cents will be a pretty strong resistance or a support. And then under that, maybe the 200 SMA down to like 69, 68 cents or so. So we will see, but that's at least SNDL after yesterday. I shorted Tilray yesterday, and I took off too early. I shorted it, but I took it off too early. After the open pop, I was like, this thing got hammered down, and I covered my short at like 727 was like my last cover. And then the market, of course, was red. Market sold off pretty hard. It came down to 17, I think 17. I was saying 17.27. It came out of 17, then it fell off down. It went sub 16. Would have been a massive trade if I had held my position a little bit longer. I also scale out along the way. I don't like shorting, but I saw the opportunity, so that's what I did. Is it safe to buy the dip on undervalued companies? I don't know. It's gonna be that was a concern, is that the market went on such a run, right? Like SPY went on such a run. Let's just from the last dip. So from the 380s, even from the 370s back in here, it went on such a run that it's like, unless we get a massive rug pull down and it comes down to like 400, I'm cautious on that stuff, because the problem you're gonna have is that. We saw such a sell-off while SPY is going up, all this growth is getting crushed, right? So what's to say that when SPY decides to head down, which we've seen the past couple of days, the growth gets crushed even more. So it's like, I would stay away. That's why I'm not swinging anything right now, personally. But I have my list. I have my list ready to go. So when the time comes, I'm going to hammer, some swings massively. Like I'm going to be going in larger. I'm making sure I'm up towards my full-size positions on those things. I have a stronger conviction on a lot of them, but in the meantime, let them come down and we'll get some really good entries. That's how I see it. Plug is an interesting one. Plug is probably set for a bounce at some point, but I don't know, maybe Plug comes down here to like 13. That sounds ridiculous, right? But I could see it coming down. This is an area right here down to like $13-14. So we'll see. There's just no need for me to, at least, we'll see how things go, but there's no need in my eyes for some of these stocks, right? And when you're looking at Plug right now, there will be a big bounce on a lot of these things, right? And sure, there will be opportunity to take advantage of that bounce, but there's no need to just start buying this stuff or to be fully positioned. You can have a position, right? But if you wanted to average down, I don't think that there's a reason to average down yet to build out your position sizes, because we're going to get a bounce at some point. A lot of these names that went crazy, but if Plug comes down, right, what's better, right? You buying in Plug as it comes down, right? For example, and it's at 25. You buy 20, but let's say all of a sudden this thing comes down to like 14 in the next like 3 weeks. It comes down to 14. You're buying along the way. Yeah, your average is going to be a lot higher. Or what you could do is you could let this thing come down, once it starts to stabilize and it makes a reversal, it breaks out of this downtrend, for example, right? And we've built a support, all of a sudden, let's say $25 or let's say $20 becomes support. Then you can hammer plug on the way up. So let's say $20 is support. Let's say that's where it falls and it finds support there at $20. You realize, hey, it's holding 20. It pushes up to 21, 22. Maybe it comes back to 21, retest 20. You can grab it, a dollar or two above 20, but that's, at least you have solidified that support. You have a downtrend break, before you're buying in. So you miss out on like a couple percent of the initial move, but it depends. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that for like, if you're like looking at like a long-term hold like Tesla or, like Apple or something, just buy that whenever it's red. Just, buy those things red. On stocks like this that made these types of runs, they certainly could have more downside. And so we'll see how this plays out. But there's some larger term, longer term downtrends at play here for plug that need to break. And once those start to break, then we can start thinking about taking that reversal and adding in heavier. Let's see. WBT, I'm going to go back to that. We got 2 minutes to the open. So WBT is actually holding up pretty well. This one might dip at the open. We'll see. OCGN dipped a little bit. This is a better dip. We'll see if this one comes down a little bit more. And then I'm going to probably watch ATHE. This is an interesting one. It fell right off. Had some decent news, I thought, at least, this morning. So we'll see. I'm looking at, let's take a look at Job. I have left 100 shares. Let's just see what happens at Job. I'll watch Job first, and then I'm looking at Viacom. So that's what I'm like my top watch, at least into the open is, and I'll look at that. Viacom pulling back here. So this could be, we could be looking at, if we look at SPY, let's take a look at SPY quick. SPY's down a little bit, nothing crazy. So we look at Viacom, I'm probably going to take a guess. This may set up for a knife down at the open, which could be a decent dip buy. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll take a dip buy on Viacom if we can get it. Let's see. What else is moving this morning? Anything else moving? I think I just saw FSR was pushing up a little bit. You can take a look at that really quick. Yeah, FSR is kind of recovering yesterday a little bit, which is interesting. They had a $30 price target or a $31 price target. FSR is going to have resistance up here, though, at like $13.75. He's got some strong resistance up there. And then, back up for 14, obviously, as we get up towards where it was yesterday. Now, it's going to be interesting. FSR over this 1450, then it gets, that's where if I'm looking to take FSR, I'm selling into that. But if it gets over that, that gets very interesting. We can get back above where we had prior support. So we'll see. I don't really plan to ride OCGN wave. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I would prefer to get a dip. So if this thing dips hard and we can develop some support, I would probably be looking at that on OCGN. So we'll see. All right, market's open. Let's see. OCGN, this thing, if it goes up straight to $7, great. But I would prefer a dip, and I also don't really like to trade anything in the first few minutes anyway, because you got a lot more volatility that we just don't want to worry about. For example, you're just watching this thing, knifing down. It's like, we can probably wait. Let's look at Viacom and see what that's doing. If this thing goes crazy in one direction, I'd probably take the other side. Okay, so it's not a big enough knife. We take a look at the history of it. This thing has made these big moves up and down. So I would be waiting for one of those. When I look for a big move down, I want to see this thing going below 37.50. Honestly, below like 37.30 really would be a pretty big knife down, or pushing up over like 38.25. If we get a move to either one of those sides, long or short, I'd be looking potentially to scalp something, on that. So let's see how this one plays out at the open. Now we're going to change the scanner to the 1 day. And then let that settle. Let's look at Job. What did Job do at the open? Job pulled back. Yeah, Job, I'm just going to probably, let's just get rid of this. Well, I have taken a little slight profit, but it is what it is. I just want to clean things up so I don't have to worry about it. I had to sell for 70 or for 67, but I'll sell it at the 62-ish area. So we'll see if that works. And then that was just because I had a scalp from like 61 to like 63 with the larger share size, and left 100 shares just in case, because I thought there was a pretty decent gap. So we'll see how that plays out. If that got filled, okay, cool, whatever. Job was green trade. I'm not going to complain in this market. OCGN is pulling back, so this thing is a 650-ish area. Nope, it's coming down further. So let's see how this one may hold up 640-ish. Some consolidation from the pre-market. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. Yeah, I better look at the 1 minute chart. Yeah, so 640-ish, I would say, is an area I would be watching for OCGN potentially to hold up. Let's look at Viacom again and see how it's playing out. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more action, but not enough. This thing, it has taken the first like hour or two in the market for this to make a substantial move in one direction. So if we get that substantial move, that's what I'm looking to do. Now, of course, the trend, that's the past, like 5 days of what it's been doing. No, it doesn't have to do that again, right? It can do whatever it wants. The example of like what's been happening right now is like VISL. I love this stock, right? But I'm not in it anymore. I mean, I have it in my longer term account, smaller share size. But in this account, I'm not hammering VISL as it dips because look at this thing. I mean, I love, as much as you love it, right? As much as you believe in this thing, now as this comes down, market cap, the cash amount they have on hand, their potential future, they got some contracts. You start doing the math, like fundamentally, this is actually a solid play, I think, right? But it's selling off 4% again today so far. I'm not going to fight it. There's no need to fight it, on the way down. Let them do their thing. And then you can, of course, take advantage on the way back up. There'll be a lot more room up. So look at this. WBT was the one actually that popped pretty hard. BBIG is climbing up the list a little bit. Not really. Let's see. Anything else interesting? I have to say, this is coming from CCIV, I think is going to be an interesting one. I would say for like a longer term play. This might be an interesting opportunity for OCGN under VWAP here, right around this area. But I was going to say that pre-pandemic, this is this slow. I haven't seen it this slow. Pre-pandemic, I even was watching stuff in the pre-market hours. I haven't really been a huge day trader, mostly a swing trader. Recently, I've transitioned to scalping stuff, and I'm just bring down that weekly goal, bring down that daily goal. We're not trying to go for anything crazy. Stay afloat. Stay even. Honestly, is the goal this week. I have no intentions of trying to do anything stupid. But it's been super slow in terms of there's just no movement in the pre-market hours. Usually you get at least one stock that's up 50%, 100%. Maybe it's stupid news and it sells off the rest of the day, but you get a pretty big pop at some point. We're just not getting any of that. So OCGN, look at that, it's selling off. This could be a decent scalp opportunity, I think, at some point for a dip buy. So we'll watch that one. I like that one probably so far here. If we look at what's going on. WBT is pushing up. That thing keeps going. I'm not going to catch that on the way up, so there's no need to trade that one. At least I see. I'm not looking to do that. ATHE is getting down to a fairly decent spot, to be honest with you, if you look at where it's at. Let's see. It's coming down to where it was in the pre-market, some of the lows that we had after the spike, which was down to like 138. But if it comes below that, which it's trying to test below, and it's like, what's the point? I'm not going to try to. I mean, it could be a decent dip buy, but I'm not going to try to mess with that. So maybe that's an idea. But let's go back to Viacom. I was looking at Viacom to see if I wanted to do something. There it is. Oh, look at that. So there it was. Missed that pop. Let's see if we can get a continuation pop. If it pops again. But that's an example of what I was saying, is that you get these pops on Viacom, which it seems like that when you get that pop in whatever direction, you want to go the opposite way. Now, I would like to see more of a move. That's just a spike on one candle. I would like to see more of a move. I like to see this candle, the next couple candles, next few minutes pushing back up, get Viacom up over like 38.50, and then I would be looking at that for a short potentially, right? Maybe. Let's see, BBIG. Oh wow, BBIG is pushing up now. It's up 20%. That's got a solid look right there. Look at that. Now this is where I'd be selling into that, but that looks decent. OCGN, this is starting to come down to a much more, looks like potentially a favorable spot as we're watching this guy right here. Let me see. My computer, pull this bad boy up. Let's see. Okay. That 640-ish area seems decent as support for now. So we'll see if that area holds up. Now it's dropping through. So it's just not much fluid. We're getting a lot of chop, which we have been. Let's see. Rocket and NDM. I don't know. Let's take a look at these. Let's take a look at these guys. Rocket's coming down. Rocket's sold off again. Yeah, Rocket's getting down to the trend line that I have. Actually, I can extend this. Let's just move this around. Yeah, Rocket down here looks decent. We can come down to like 20 bucks ish. It's not bad, but yeah, it's been taking a hit the past couple of days for sure. You can see it how it's just kind of like it was holding up decently in the mid 20s, mid to low 20s. Now it's just like petering off. Although percentage wise, it's not that bad. So it looks like it could be setting up. And then NNDM, I think, is potentially looking like it wants to reverse, but today is not the move. It looks like had a good day yesterday with that news, but it's coming back down. I think NNDM wants to come down to 6. I think it wants to come down to 6-ish. The low 6s is better. Is I think a solid support area. We'll see if that holds up. Prior resistance, prior support in the past. I think we have the 200 SMA down at 620-ish. That's I would say a better spot. What is happening with where's OCGN? Oh, wow, this thing's falling off. OCGN is just falling off. But see, the thing is, like, in this type of market, there's been opportunity, right, where you get something like that pushed up in the pre-market. You'll get a decent dip, and then when this thing starts to base and hold support for a little bit, which maybe it happens here, maybe it happens lower, maybe it doesn't happen. But there's decently a dip buy. I think especially on these types of stocks that have a little bit of momentum and have decent volume, right? This got 28, almost 30 million shares traded. This is probably a play you can probably take up to the VWAP, which is at 649, which puts you, okay, it sounds dumb, but I mean, that's all I would be looking to take. So from 635 to 649, you're talking about 2%, a little over 2% on that scalp. If you're taking a scalp, it's not bad. I mean, 2% on a trade, I mean, you go to large caps. I mean, most people don't get that unless you're trading options. Obviously, you can go for more. But, I mean, looks like SPY is now barely red. Dow's green. And the Nasdaq is red. But not too bad. Not as bad as yesterday, at least for now. We'll see. Okay, here we go. Look at Viacom. This is interesting. I'm getting interested here now. Getting interested. Let's watch this one. I'm probably going to take a short position. We'll see. And if I'm not going in big on these things. I would just be scalping this thing for like a couple cents. Literally. No, so I'd be like, look, Viacom would probably be like, for me, I would be looking at 38.50-ish. That's where I would be looking at. Let's take a look at the 5-minute again. How big is this spike? Not crazy. If we get up to over 38.50 or we get up into that range, I would be looking at a short from there down to like 38, which isn't crazy. It isn't a crazy move, but it's, percentage-wise, it's like a percent, whatever it is. So from 38.50-ish to 38, yeah, you're talking about like 1%. But, I mean, I've been noticing it's been there, generally. So it's over at 38.26. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see how it goes. Starting to get a little bit resistance up around that 38.30 area. So we'll see how this one decides to handle itself. But, I mean, ultimately, this isn't a big move. If you want the bigger moves, go to the penny plays. So OCGN, look at that. Now it's curling back on up, and it may hit that 649 soon, or now 648 is VWAP. Let's see how that one plays out. You look at the chart, this is up a decent amount. It's up over $1, which, I don't know. Single cash. Yep. That's the move, it seems like, for right now. What is this? ACU? No, I'm not interested in that. WBT has been great. Hit $20. This could be what does the daily chart on this guy look like? That's interesting. They had some news though. So they have resistance up here, like this 20-ish area. That's a tough spot. It gets over, if it can get over 20. There you go. I just saw it. Let's see, Coinbase is down today. Coin's down, I think, to the lowest it ever had. Wow, look at that. Coin's down pretty big. I wonder if Bitcoin's down. Is that why? Let's go to Bitcoin. No, not really. Bitcoin's actually firming up around 55. Firming up pretty well, actually, around this 55,000 area. So that's interesting. Coin's down. Sad to not see George. George just got adopted, but he's in a good spot. He's in a good spot. The guy's great. We met him and everything, so he's going to be doing well. He has been doing well so far. ATHE. How is this guy looking? Let's take a peek at them 1 minute. Yeah, it's just trying to base up, and it's getting over VWAP now, so this could get up to 150-ish. Could be a 10-cent pop. This could be interesting. I mean, your risk on this one is a lot lower than like, I mean, it's potentially lower because you're talking about like this thing is up off decent news. Okay, it has resistance at like 155 area and the 175 from where I was looking at pre-market. But from where it's at right now, 140 to 150, I would probably play to 147-ish if I was going to do it. I mean, on a stock under $2, that's not bad in terms of percentages, right? You're talking about, 5% like that. So it's not a bad play. It could be a decent idea. I may take a peek at this one and play it potentially. That's probably if I was going to take something so far, this has got 25 million volume. It's not terrible. I would probably play that. Let's take a look at Viacom though. So Viacom is pushing up again. I want this thing to really kind of push up hard, and then I want that 38.50 area, and then I would short it. Bitcoin stuff, yeah, I mean, I like the Bitcoin assembly plays. The only problem is that the market we're in, number one, and you can calculate or classify those into high growth plays too, right, as we've been seeing, and speculative plays. So the problem with those is that we're just not seeing Bitcoin's firming up, but we're just seeing, well, how is Martin Riot doing? At least yesterday, they pulled back pretty hard. They're down again today. I mean, Riot's down another, 5% today. It's like, okay. Bitcoin's firming up at 55 area. So, I mean, I would expect Riot to start firming up. But if we look at the daily chart on Riot, it's in a pretty good spot. I mean, I kind of like Riot down here at 35, 34. So you're in a pretty good spot to grab something, I would say, for a swing. Now, don't cry if it's down to 34 tomorrow. It could come down to 30 maybe. But if Bitcoin falls off too, that's the other risk. But Bitcoin looks like it's firming up pretty well. I would think Bitcoin, either you're going to get this is a bear flag setting up, or this thing is going to end up falling out below the bottom and dropping down like to 50K or even lower, or it's going to reverse right back on up and be at 60K before you know it. So you're going to have either one of those two options. It's going to be kind of, we got to break this kind of flag. If you think about, let's pull up the rectangle, break this box. You break this kind of to one way or the other, and then that's going to tell you. So until then, we're probably going to have Riot and Mara just kind of fading as people lose interest, and that fading will probably come to an end at some point. But we'll be watching and then letting them kind of play with the market. So the market's down a little bit, tech's down. Some of these are probably going to come down with that, right? So we'll see how that one holds up. I'm waiting. I like them, but I'm waiting on them still. Let's see. OCGN, as we were talking before, looks like it may not. Well, it hit that VWAP. It popped. Look at that. So it did get that VWAP push. It hit up to 655, and now it's fading right back off. So I wonder if wonder how the shorts, how much they cost here. It's not that bad. Fairly cheap borrow rate. BBIG is falling back off. This thing a nice little pop and then drop. So that's the rest. But look at WBT is now over 20. That's interesting. EBON, yeah, I think EBON down in the upper threes has got some good support there. Let's take a look at the daily on it. Yeah, it's got, I mean, if you go back, I didn't think it would come down. I mean, I drew these lines in, 2 weeks ago, but yeah, the absolute bottom here is like right where it's kind of at. So you would think it holds up here at some point, but that's what we thought last time. And it plummeted out below, the floor just dropped out on it. So let's see. I'm not going to try to do something stupid. No need. I mean, if there was a day trade idea, I think ATHE would be really, in terms of like some of the top gainers from this morning, this would be the most interesting one, because if you look at it, they had news. Yes, you could certainly come down here to like, 128, but that's 10 cents from where you're at, not even 9 cents from where you're at. Risk is minimal to the downside, and if you get a pop up to 145, 150, that's solid 5% plus, right? So that's not a bad play. I was thinking about the Netflix, but I'm not gonna think with Netflix. As I was looking at Netflix, if we take a peek at it, it fell to a really nice spot actually. I mean, it fell to a beautiful spot. So that was a good pullback. I mean, it sucks, right? But look at that. You fell right to the trend. So you're still putting it in roughly higher lows. So you got a big gap up here to like 545, 550. It's not a terrible idea. And then respect these lows. So I would say if it comes down below 5, closes below 500 more than 2 days, cut it. Maybe. Netflix is also a longer term outlook too, I think. But we'll see. It's not a bad spot, if I had to say. I was looking at it, but generally speaking, I'm not a big. I don't know. I don't play too many of these things. Maybe if you're looking at like a long-term hold, then yes. But I'm looking at the little. I'm more of a small cap or more just a high growth generally. And so what's Penn doing today? Penn's down again. This is one that's probably going to take a further dive. I wouldn't be surprised if Penn's down to like $75 soon. SPY's green now. Okay, so SPY is green. Maybe that's good for Viacom. Let's take a look at Viacom. VIAC. Look at that. So that thing just came. So you got some volatility here, but not enough for me to be at least for me to see it worthwhile in terms of where it's been. I need a knife up or I need a knife down or a spike up pretty hard for me to think about something like that. GIK I think is going to be good too. Wow, this thing is down in sevens. Jeez, wow, that thing got crushed. I think this could be a good idea for just to stack it away in like an IRA or a long-term account and not worry about it. I don't think it's terrible. Not a terrible idea. Can's been pushing up today. Yeah, this is rebounding off of where it's at. It's out here at the 1150-ish area, bounced off the past couple days, and now it's pushing up. Let's see how it's doing. Yeah, it's pushing up quite a bit. These are interesting. The can's weird. I played it before, and it was weird when it hit all-time highs. I played it for some of that run. Was kind of not correlating to kind of like your Riot Mara type plays. If we go to Bitcoin, what is it doing? I mean, Bitcoin is just kind of hanging out in its little box for now. But this is bouncing pretty well. I'm wondering if there's adapt and overcome. Exactly, that's how you do it. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla was an interesting one. The only thing with Tesla, though, is that you had that recent news, the crash and everything. So that kind of skewed it, but it had been doing quite well in this range where, well, not range, but it would be, we had resistance here at this like 720-ish area. And then at the 780 something, bouncing off that for a nice bounce. But ever since that news, it kind of threw off the chart support resistance wise. So it's been a little bit more difficult to look at trade wise. That was a good knife down. Tesla down to like 6. It dropped below 700. That would have been a decent spot to grab something. Yeah, but I would like to see Tesla holding up. I would think this is not a terrible spot. If you look at just the past couple of weeks, yeah, Tesla's got some support, had resistance up here around the 700-ish area. 700 to 720 is where I was looking at as resistance. So it's holding up again. You have these, wicks down on that news and obviously today too, but it's holding up quite well. So it holds up again and it closes over 700. Honestly, if it closes over 725, that's a good sign for Tesla. Market's pushing up now. Look at that. Everything's pushing up. Just like that. Let's see. Maybe I'll take something. I may have some fun with ATHE. Do we do like 500 shares for fun? At 140 to 147. If we can get like a 140, I'll play it for small. 140 to 143 I'll do. If I can get filled at one. Now it's gonna go. It's gonna go without me. If I get filled at 140, I'll take it. And then we'll see how we'll write it up. Okay, so got filled with 100 shares. Cool. Let's see if it'll fill the 5. It's just the type of position sizes. There's no need to go crazy large on stuff these days. It's like take your small wins. But I'll leave a little bit more if I wanted to get more. I mean, I'm not playing with much. The count size right now is like just under 50K, right? So my swings is where I usually would go heavier. Day trades, I take it pretty small, especially in the way the conditions have been lately. So of course we got filled with 100 shares, but not all 500. So maybe we're not going to get filled here. Let's just put a sell at 147 in case that hits quick. But I mean, you do the math on that, right? You don't. The way that I was looking at things like the past couple of days is that realistically, people think about, oh, how much you need to trade. If you do the math, so far this week, right, the first 2 days, the goal, I decided to dial things back, right? Just say, hey, I'm going to look just for $100 a day on average. If I can hit, $500 this week in this type of market, I mean, that's beautiful, I think, right? But the reality is that I'm trading with very small size, just taking little moves here, there. You don't need to, I mean, if you think about scaling up, the types of moves you can get some big moves. When the market heats back up, you're talking about 5, 10, 20% moves, on a stock, then, you're playing with 10K, you're playing with 5K on a position size, and, realistically, right, that's still a small count, right? If you're going in with 5, 10K, you make 5, 10%, you start stacking that up. You do that 3 times. You have a loser in there. You have maybe 2 losers. You have a couple winners. Winners outweigh. You're stacking up a couple $100 a day pretty easily. I mean, like realistically, right? It's not like you need to have $1 million to trade with to make, $1,000 a day. You can do that without having a massive account. So we didn't get filled on the full share size, but you do the math, right? You take 500 shares, for example. If you take 500 shares for a 7-cent move, okay, cool. That's $7 per share. Okay, so you do 7 times 5, it's not bad, right? For just 500 shares and for a pretty small move, you do 1,000, you do 2,000, you do 10,000 shares. You start seeing how these small gains, these small little moves, they add up quick. They can add up pretty quick. Pennies add up, and that's what it's been this week. I'm going to talk more about it on Saturday's video for sure, but I've been logging everything. So today, I did take job. I can mark that down, but I've been logging it and just reviewing them. So it's been just very good to go back at the end of the day just to take a peek at what I did. Playing them small, right? So you can go back, but when the market tells you, hey, we're hot, then you can go back and size up. That's when you can say, okay, now I can, instead of going in with 500 shares, for example, in this example, I can go in with 1,500 shares. I can go with 2,000 shares, right? Now 2,000 shares, you get a 7-cent move on 2,000 shares. Do the math, right? That's a significant, it's not massive, right? But that starts adding up. And if you think about stacking the small wins, I'll take that every day, right? Let's see. Maybe it comes back down to VWAP. So the SPY order is at 140 is at VWAP pretty much. So we'll see if it gets filled on ATAG. And you could go these types of days. You could go, if you really are like, you need to go, options. You need to make some money, right? You can go options. You can play like Tesla options. You can play SPY options if you want. You can do whatever you want, but the thing is too, right? I'm looking at this saying reason why I'm looking at that one. I'm looking at 150 is a psychological area that's going to be resistance. So I'm looking at 147 saying a couple cents early. If we have resistance at 150, which I can also look at level 2, there's not a clear, we got a decent size seller at 145. You got to grind through 145, which it's trying to do right now. Over 145, I'm like 95% sure my 147 hits, and it's going to probably hit in any second now. If you grind through that 145, which it's trying to do. And then 150 is just a psychological area. So I would think that's going to need resistance. So we can get rid of this. Unfortunately didn't get filled, but 100 shares, I guess is all that got filled. I was a couple seconds late to the party on it, and I would have made a few extra dollars, but that's an example of the type of trade that but the thing is also too, right? I'd rather have, now it's coming back down. I'd rather have I'd rather either make nothing, minimal, right? Keep losses minor, make no money, or maybe make a few dollars, then lose big on swings. And that's why I cut the swings for now. And they're on the left-hand side. This is what I like. These are the ones I want. But I'm waiting. I'm just keeping them there because I can watch them every single day. And there's value in that too, because you can see the price action, you can see the movement. And I know, hey, WWR, for example, is up today, right? This is up today, but past couple days, right? You look at where it's been. WWR, is down here, and the upper 3s, low 4s is a spot. I like it. I definitely like it. But let it bounce and let it come back down, build support here. If it holds up pretty well, then I'll take it. That's the thought process on that one. At least for now. So ATHE may actually come back down, may actually be able to buy more. So we'll see. Let it come down. If it comes down under VWAP, I'll probably buy a little more. I mean, the risk reward here is pretty good, I think. Minimal downside risk compared to, like, I'm not looking for a crazy reward here. I just don't want to see it go below the low of the day. So again, what does this mean? Low of the day is 135. So always making sure I have more upside than downside. So if I'm looking for a 147 target here, yeah, I would love to buy more. Under 140, I'll probably buy more, right? But if I'm doing that, then 135 is my stop. So if it goes under 135, I'm stopping out, which means I'm risking about 5 cents, roughly, maybe, like, you know, if it goes a cent below, 6 cents down and 7 cent up, right? So I have more upside than downside. So that's the move. That's what I'm looking at. And that's what I want. Maybe I can get some, I can put some orders in here for, like, let's see if we can get something down to like 138-ish, 139 maybe. We'll see. Mm-mm. 142. Just it's kind of holding up. This is the type of volume we have, though. We don't have like massive volume either way. Let's see, WBT over 21 now. That has been a straight up grind. That's been nice. For sure. I mean, I don't intend to try to, you know, take something that's going up straight like that. You know, there'll be a downside, and if it dips down on a VWAP down to like 2050 area, that would be a better dip, I would say. East is moving. OCGN bounced off it came down to like 625 and it bounced pretty decent. So there you go. Let's go back to Viacom and see how that went. Yeah, so yeah, it's got like these 20-cent candles, but I want more if I was thinking about that. Have you thought about going live? Yeah, yes, I have. I will in the future. The anticipation is with the potential, not anytime soon, unfortunately, but I want to. I would love to do it every single day. That might be what I do. Look, the market's really green. That may be what I do at some point, but we probably were potentially, see how the living situation goes, and if we get potentially a bigger space, we may be doing that like office space and something like that. That's what I would probably be doing. We gotta get that. The problem is that this place right now, as crazy as it is, right? So we moved in. I mean, we moved in at an interesting time, right? But this place right now, the unit above us, same exact thing, just one floor up, is almost double the rent that we're paying right now. And so our lease isn't up for a while. We got like 6 months left, but Austin's just nuts. People are flooding in here. That the housing market's insane. So everyone who can't get a house is going to rent, and it's driving the rents up. So it's like insane. Elon Musk saying that we need housing in Austin is like 100%, accurate, right? But that said, we'll see how it plays out. So we may have to move somewhere else, and if we have to move out of downtown, it's fine. But then we'll probably get a 2-bedroom, get a bigger space, and at that point get an office space and I would be able to do lives every day. But that's potentially what we're gonna do. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It'd be fun. eBet. eBet's been one that's been interesting the past couple days. I like eBet. I liked it. I never traded it though, but I watched it. It was kind of fun to watch. This thing pops up. Look at the past couple of days. Look at the 1 hour chart. Crazy run over $70. And then things have calmed down. But it's got some, it gets back up over like 27.50. With a little high back in here. Yeah, it could go. It could go for a little run. That's one to have on the list, have at least ready to go. Let's see. ATHE is just it's just sitting there. Now, it came down like briefly, so I could have gotten actually a larger size down at the 140, but I kind of was a little greedy. I was looking at starting to see if I can grab underneath. Move to a rural area. It's funny because like we moved here at least when no one was moving to cities. The summer of last year, I guess mid-pandemic. So everyone was fleeing the cities. Everything was closed pretty much. Stuff's opening. I'm here. Everything's pretty much back to normal almost. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Interesting. We thought about a lot of ideas. So there'll be, there's a lot of ideas potentially coming. I would think that we probably would see a Viacom push here. Yes, we're getting a little push on Viacom, but the market's just going straight up right now. SPY straight up, Dow straight up, Nasdaq straight up after a little morning dip. So I think we probably get some pops on some stuff, which could be, setting up for fades the rest of the day, but if you want to call it that. Let's see. SENS. I haven't really looked deep enough into this one long term. It's doing pretty decent today. But it's got the same type of chart that a lot of these hyper-growth stocks have had. We look at these, this is what the pattern was in the past. Now no longer holding this pattern, so we can get rid of some of these. I would think this could come down to like 150 would be a decent spot. I mean, what happens is you're going to get these days, right, along the perpetual or overall downtrend. You're going to get these days where the thing just pops. And so I'm still concerned that just because the market's up and a lot of rebounds we're seeing today, that's not going to say, hey, time to get in these things. I would still prefer to buy them on a red day, number one. But number two, let's give it some time. There's no need to kind of force and jump into something, I think. So we'll see. This guy is just going to be boring here. I mean, luckily I got a decent average, I guess, but I wanted to get more. Let's see. AREC is one that I've been watching. It had a decent day yesterday in the afternoon, interesting enough, but it seems like it's falling off today. VISI I like, but that's bouncing. BCTX I also like a lot, but that's also AYRO is pushing up a little bit here. I like AYRO a lot. The daily on it is just gross. Like AYRO, if it comes down, honestly, down under 4 would be really nice, I would say. I mean, if it came down to 250, I would love it. But I don't know if we're going to get that low. But that's one that I have on the list. ELYS, under 450, I think is really good. I think that's still sets. I think anything under 450 on ELYS is setting you up at some point for a double. The question is going to be, when does the market want to let you, when does the market kind of cooperate with you? So, but we'll see. We will see. Oh, look, ATHE is pushing up a little bit now. See if it hits. Unfortunately, what is that? Yeah, so when you do the math, we were saying before, right? When put the order through, I was looking for 500 at 140-ish. And if you do the math on that, right, it sounds stupid, right? But you're like, okay, that's a decent percent gain, actually, on a stock. That's why I like these stocks down here. So you're looking at this, it's like a little over a 4% gain. I mean, take that any day. I wish it came down under VWAP again. That would have been the opportunity, because it had come down below VWAP, and it seemed like that was an area where, you could have grabbed some shares, and the risk reward is beautiful there. I mean, this thing was at 125-ish yesterday. So, your risk reward under VWAP right here at 135. I mean, you're talking about 10 cents. Okay, sure. I'll take a 10 cent risk. Worst case scenario, many times these things bounce pretty well too. So we'll see how it goes. Let's see if this guy will want to stack itself and push up. I do have one swing actually, which is OCA. Is a SPAC under 10. And they have not announced a partner yet, which the thing with that is going to be, I'm like, please don't announce anything right now. Please don't. Let the market heat up a little bit. Let's get some SPACs, get some more attention before they announce something. That's what I want them to do. Hopefully they don't. Because I think that thing that could push to like 11, 12, $13 on a good announcement, depending upon who they want to merge with, right? Who they want to take public. But in this market, that would pop 20, 30 cents, maybe in the pre-market hours, $1 max, and then it would come right back down. So, I don't know. But that's the only swing I have, and it's a cash park right now I put in, what do I have? I have about $4,000 in that right now. But, I'm not looking for anything crazy. I have sells set over 10. My average is at 981. on a SPAC pre-merger without even a partner yet. And it's a pretty minimal risk. I think Gary Vee's on the board too. That's how I found. That's how I learned about what they do. So, let's take a peek back to VIAC. I need a bigger move, man. Push up to 38.50 and I would short it. I don't want to be that guy, but I would do it. Let's take a look at SNDL and Tilray. I'm just curious how these guys are doing today. SNDL, a little bouncy. Hit 80 cents and bouncing. Tilray, what is Tilray up to? Tilray, same, came almost at 15. Now it's bouncing. Let's look at Riot and Mara. Can we get any movement? Can we get anything out of these guys? Okay, so Riot was down like 5%. This could be we could even look at this one for a potential trade idea too. So it's pushing up. Markets seem Nasdaq is back to even, so they were all green. Now they're coming back a little bit. Just something to note. Bitcoin, not much movement. So Bitcoin actually, if anything, is actually down from the last time we looked, and Riot's up. So these could pull back. These could be like, this could be like a Riot from, let's say, 38 down to like 37.50 would be all I'm looking for. If you were shorting it or something like that, or even if you play puts, that's it. Simple. So we'll see. Those could be ideas. Would have loved dip buys, but those could be ideas. I do kind of like Riot down towards where it's at on a larger scale, right? As a swing trade minded type of person, right? I would love Riot down here, down to like 35. Got close yesterday. Hit under 36. That maybe all we get, so we'll see. But I do like that. And we'll see how this reacts over the coming days. I don't know, but the problem the weekend holds on that too is that Bitcoin is just a reaction. So if we get some bad news, like we had bad news last week with Bitcoin, then you open up immediately, Riot's opening up down to like 20 in the 20s. If we get some bad news in Bitcoin pulls back, regulation news, and you're just like, okay. Skills is bouncing hard today. Look at this. Wow, that thing is shooting up. That, I don't want to be the bear here. That could be a short and a half right there. Let me tell you. Let's see if we can identify any levels here. Yeah. I would say up here at like 15. If it gets close to 15, that's a short, I would think. Because, what we've been noticing is a lot of these stocks that have been taking massive hits, they have these pushes in the first like hour or two of the market, and then the second half of the day, they just fade off. And so, they have been. I mean, Skills, I think, is a potential play long-term. I would buy it long-term and hold it long-term. But if you're looking at an intraday, or if you're looking at like an opportunity intraday, I have to be skewed to the short side right now. Especially because the market is up. It's, market is up, pulls back. Oh, look, ATHE just filled. That just filled. Oh, cool. Made $7. That's literally the extent of these types of trades. Seems like these days, but I mean, I'm fine with that. Again, right? I could have taken more shares. Ideally, I wanted to get 500 initially. It only filled 100, and then I was like, if I want to get more, let's let it come back under VWAP. It briefly touched it and then pushed. So that's what it is. I'm not gonna complain. But the thing about these times too is it's you can do that. Play with 100 shares. Have fun. If you don't want to lose money, then just play with 100 shares so that if you lose, you lose $5, $10. But now you're, instead of playing with paper money, paper trading, at least you have your skin in the game, and you can hone in on a skill. So all of a sudden you start saying, hey, these day trades are working. When the market heats up, that's really going to be hitting. That's really going to be working well, and you'll be cashing in nicely. So that's what I think is helpful, at least with these times. Do we do it? Do we dare? Do we dare take a short on Skills? I don't know. That is an interesting idea. Let's see what else. This is actually could be a decent idea for even a long. This is coming down to VWAP, so I would risk down to VWAP, which is sitting here at this 2062. So you're going to risk about 30 cents to the downside here, and you're looking probably, I would say, I would play it for a new high. I'd look for this thing to break new highs and make a run to like $22, which isn't out of the question. It's about $1 move from where it's at right now on WBT. So we'll see if that ends up. We'll look at that one. I would probably want to get it closer to VWAP if I was going to take it. But let's see. Can we go back to Riot? See if we got anything going on here. It's sitting up towards the highs of the day. It's within range of highs of the day. Bitcoin. I would love to get more of a push on Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin all of a sudden just starts ripping and it goes back up and it's at 56K, then you take Riot long quickly. Or if Bitcoin comes down under 55K and you get a pretty big candle and you got a slight lag on Riot or Mara, boom, then you can hit it hard for a quick scalp, take your chunk of your position off right away after you get that quick move, and then ride the rest for a continuation. So let's see how it plays out. SOS thoughts. I don't know. Let's take a peek. Okay, daily on this guy. Here's the thing. It had a nice day yesterday. It did. And to be honest, I actually made a few dollars in SOS yesterday, but I took it for a short trade. I took it short right here this 415, 420 area. And then I wrote it down to 4-ish, to 403, I think, or something like that, 401. And then ended up hitting a new high of the day, which is fine. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you could be short on SOS for an intraday move. The reason why was because at this point, it became so overextended off of VWAP. VWAP is kind of like my guide. You know, especially in this market, right, with things how slow they've generally been. Yeah, they had news, so that propelled them intraday. But this thing became so overextended off of VWAP, I was like, okay, let it come back down. I can cover my short closer to VWAP, which is what I did. It came down towards 4. I was like, $4, whole number, psychological area. It'll probably come down towards 4. And if it's going to bounce, it bounces there, or it bounces at VWAP, or maybe it fades off the rest of the day and it dies out. Either way, I thought we'd get a decent dip. And in this type of market, it ended up working out, but it was a temporary play. And I got out, did something else. Next thing I know, I look back, I'm like, oh, went back up. Whatever. I mean, I don't care. I'm out. So there's two different ways to think about it. But overall, if you look at the longer term scale of SOS, let's take a look at where it's at. Sorry, scrolling over. You know, you down under $4 seems like it's a pretty good risk reward, especially with the more miners they're acquiring, right? They had more news on that too. I mean, you would think this is setting up to be, you know, a bigger player in the space, but there's a lot of that concern with the Hindenburg report, I guess, and whatnot. So there's been a lot of negativity around it, but I think you just need the market to turn, and there's a lot of short in this one, so this thing can really squeeze, but you just need the market to kind of give you a little bit of help, I think. So TGB, let's take a look at that guy. That's nice. Look at that. That's been off that 50 SMA beautifully every time. That's usually a sign of a strong, you know, stock or market, right? So look at that SPY too. You know, SPY bouncing roughly off the 50 SMA recently. It's been strong, and that's what I would be targeting. So again, here's what I'm looking at too. I sold my SPY puts yesterday. I had SPY puts. I will buy them back if we hit all-time highs again. If SPY goes back to 417, 418, 420 area by the end of this week, I will buy puts again and do the exact same thing. Wait for a red day or two, sell my puts, and then wait for, you know, if you want to play calls, sure. I think there's potentially a bigger move down, so I'm not going to play calls for a swing. And just have it in your back pocket as a hedge. And if it pays, it pays, right? And it kind of did this week, so it was nice for me at least, and, you know, help, you know. But I'm not counting on that, not playing it huge, right? Because you could be that perpetual bear, and eventually you're going to be right, but you can also bleed out all of your premium. Someone was asked about SPY puts, so if you're going to buy SPY puts, I think we can certainly see a lot more downside. I would like to see SPY come down to 400 area, but the problem is going to be the timing. You know, you can't time that. So what do? You know, do you just short SPY instead? Maybe, I don't know. You could, I guess, but is that really gonna work? I don't know. Let's see. So ATHE, after that pop we had to 140, I literally got filled at the top of that pop. It's doing its thing. Skills. So what I do for a lot of the ideas, if you're looking for an intraday idea, I wait for someone to hit this list. And look at that. Look at this. WBT. Look at that. It pops. It drops. We were talking about that VWAP dip, right? Down to that VWAP, down to like 2060 area. And it dips down in 2065. And then boom, immediately rebounds in the same minute and hits an all-time high, or hits a new high of the day. Crazy. That would have been a nice trade. But let's see. Skills. What I like to do is look at the top gainers in the day, and I go off of that. Usually that's where you're going to get a lot of volume. You're going to get a lot of attention on those guys. So skills right now is up. It's actually pulling back a little bit. We can maybe we'll take this one for a little fun ride down. What do we do? How many shares do you do? 50 shares? Do you do like a 50 share just for fun short on this thing down to like 1380-ish? I think that's not a terrible idea. Let's see if we can get it. And we'll stop out at the high of the day. And we'll play this one for some fun. 3%, I'll take that any day. So yeah, so you play this for, let's see. We'll see if we can get this thing. Now it's going to drop on me. But if it hits, okay, so we're in that. Now let's see how it plays out. If we stop out for a high of the day. If not, I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover 50 at this. 13, I'm looking for, let's see, 13.83. It's been the market that we're in, right? So what that puts us like right in here, about VWAP. So skills, I think at this point in the day, right, we're starting to calm down. They had a nice little push, and if it wants to continue, I think we're going to need a VWAP test for it to continue. So if it wants to make a move up, and it may, I would like, if I was a long here, I'm not buying it here. I would like to see this thing come down to VWAP, test that, bounce, and go for the next leg. If I was a long, now that's what I would be looking at. So I wouldn't be, so for some fun, just because there's, what else are we doing, right? I took a short position here. I have negative 50 shares at 14.15. So I'm not risking, I'm only in, what is that, $700, whatever it is. And if it starts pushing up towards the high of the day, I could even double my position if I wanted to, or I could stop myself out. So we can do either way. We can go either way. But I'm looking for this thing to come down and fade out. Volume starting to fade off after the bigger push. I would like to see it start to fade and then come down here, test that level, and then bounce again. That's what I would like to see. And so that's where at least I'm planning on covering this thing if we get down there. And now the next like hack is looking at level 2. So you look at level 2, where are the buyers, where are the sellers? So we're going to have some buyers here in this 14.09, we got a buyer, and then $14. So if this thing drops below $14, which if we'll see, let's see how it plays out, I would anticipate a pretty hard crack down, pretty quick. You may get one candle or two candles. This thing comes down quick and then bounces back. So let's see. 14, we got a decent chunk of buyers potentially sitting at $14. So we'll see how that holds up. And we got some sellers now stacking up here in the 14.10 area. So it's showing us we got some weight to the downside here up around 14.10, and we got some buyers holding it up at 14. So that's kind of your area, your range right now. 14.10 to the top side, 14 to the downside. Whoever cracks first, we could see a pretty big move in either direction. Looks like we're down to 14. Let's see if the buyers can hold up. And if they can't, this thing probably comes down towards VWAP, I would say next. And then that would be where if I'm a buyer, I'd be picking it up down there. So we're in the low 14s. It's trying to come down. It's getting heavy. It seems like it's trying to get heavy. There are buyers here. There are decent buyers here at 14. So let's see how it plays out. And that's one of the things too. If you're looking for just scalp, you can play larger size if you want to make more money on the scalp. But if I'm looking at, I might, if I was really concerned, I would probably look to cover a little bit here, because if the buyers hold up, at least I can lock in some gains here in the low 14. It's still a profitable trade, but I think we're going to get some more further downside here. So let's see if these buyers hold up again. This is what I was doing yesterday with SOS. Playing on small shares, but you can at least kind of go through what's happening here, look at level 2, and start to say, okay, we're getting heavy. Buyers are still holding it up though at 14, but 14 cracks, this is probably coming down. So let's see. What I could do is I could even scale out. We can do that too. Let's do that. I'll give you guys a better example of how I would go about this, like scaling out of this thing. So let's say I'm going to scale out 10 shares at a time. I'd be going to 1403. 14.03. I would look for the first scale out just to make sure that we get something. If the buyers are pushing it back on up. So now you see how those buyers came in. We got some sellers at 14.15 though. So let's see how that holds up. And then we'll go from there. So the 410-ish. Now we got some sellers up here in the 14.15 area, which is actually where I have my average, at least for now. And then buyers back down here in the low 14s again. So you kind of can see, how it's playing out. And if you're really looking to scalp in, out, you can literally just watch level 2 and you can be scalping all day off of that. Very, very, if you want to play super large share size, but go for these couple cent moves, you can do it. And obviously with a larger account, 10 cent move on, 30,000 shares is actually, starts to become more substantial than a 10 cent move on 100 shares, right? Like what's the point of a 10 cent move on 100 shares? Who cares, right? So let's see how this holds up here. I do think that 14-ish area is going to be tough. So look at that. So now let's see. Do we get filled here? Do we get that start? We start to scale out of this position here. The 1403. That's what at least I would put. That's what at least I'm looking at as the first area to scale out. Mentally speaking, now just looking at level 2, it's smart to do that. Even though I don't have the best average, I would love to have gotten a spike. This seems like a pretty good spot to start to scale out. And then if we drop below, this will get us a big drop, but we'll see if we get a drop below. 14 is the key. There it is. So the first scale out has been taken at 1403. Now 14. We got a decent amount of buyers are here, but if that cracks, I'm gonna just get my shares ready at the 1380. Or I want 83 for what I want 40 shares, just so that if it cracks down quick and we get a big candle down, because we can have that, we can get a 20-cent drop quick. If that happens, I want to make sure that at least I have my sell my cover, I guess, my buy in place. Now look at that 14. 14 held up very well. Now it's pushing back on up. So this could be, we'll see if this is a fake out or a bull trap here. We'll see. But now it's pushing on up. So we'll see if it gets back up over like 420 or something like that. And then this thing may want to make a move back to the upside, maybe go for a new high of the day. So we'll see. Market's up, which is good. I kind of like that because I think my thesis on the overall market's down. So I kind of like playing a short here while things are up, while it's up, while everything's elevated. Play the short if you wanted a short. So we'll see. This is just intraday. This is not like I hate skills. People get that all mixed up sometimes too with thinking that shorts are the enemy, right? And it really is not. I mean, just you're going off of what the market's giving you, the price action, what we're seeing, And I hope, I'd love to be wrong and get squeezed out, but that's why I'm playing with a couple, I'm not playing with large size on these things. But it would be fun if this thing works out. It would be fun to kind of show you, just kind of live show, a couple trade ideas, SNDL on the move. Okay, now we're at 14. Let's see if we crack below. Do we crack below? Ooh, the buyers are really stepping in. Let's see. Does it go below? We got now 14 holding up. 14 holding up, but the way it seems like it's tested that 14 a lot of times now. I would think it cracks. I would think 14 cracks because it's tested that level multiple times the past like 5 minutes. I would think 14 cracks, and there it is. Now we're in the 13s, and this could come down to VWAP pretty quick, which is where we're looking to cover. So we'll see how this one goes. 1395. The next big buyer here is at 1384. So we'll see if that actually happens. I may want to move my cover up a little bit if that guy stays there, because that would tell me that I'm not going to get filled here. If that 10,000 share or size or something like that, I don't want to be involved. Obviously, I want to get out before that guy. So let's see. Maybe I'll push it up to the 87. I like the 7s. I'll sell that. I'll cover those there. So that's 10 cents off from where it's at. Get a quick little drop. That should cover a number. That's it. Move on. But you see now, look at the level 2. Now up at 14, or back over 14. But there's a lot more sellers here in the low 14s now. So the sellers have come down off the 1450 area, or the 1415-ish area, wherever it was. Now buyers are stacking up here in the upper 13s. So it seems like buyers are starting to come back in, but it's overall we're downtrending. We're making lower lows, we're making lower highs. So and when you're shorting something, I think at least in this market, it's a lot of it's a fade. It's just a fade. These things have been fading off. So it doesn't happen immediately. You don't immediately just have that, immediate gratification of like, oh, we hit it. It's been kind of like, let the trend be your friend and let the fade happen. So we'll see. SNDL is on the move. Let's take a look at SNDL. Yeah, it is pushing up a little bit, up 5%. Now let's look at skills pushing up. So it bounced. It came down below 14. It bounced pretty well. So overall, if we look at the overall trend of what's going on here, we're kind of actually potentially looking to break out of this downtrend. So that's the next area I would say right here. This 1425. Break out of that. This thing makes a pretty big push. It looks like it wants to at least. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets rejected at that point. Yeah, I think it's fun to do these kind of like live, examples and stuff. Looks, there it goes. It broke out of that downtrend. Let's see if it makes a test to those highs. If it tests up to those highs, this could go for more. This could go. Let's see. We look at the 1 hour chart. Where could this? I mean, this thing has a lot of range. But what you're potentially looking at today is you are potentially looking at an opportunity like we've been seeing for a lot of these high growth stocks. This is your opportunity to get kind of liquidate. It seems like it's your liquidation opportunity. But the market's ripping now. The market's actually up pretty big. That's why. Market's ripping. Market's straight up. Yeah. So you saw that weakness a couple minutes ago, and then the market decided to start ripping to the upside. Now skills is just pushing. So what we could do, just come back in here. We could look. ELYS is up a lot today. I wonder what's going on here. Not much. It's just actually just kind of fluctuating, doing its thing. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of my higher conviction swings are doing pretty well, but the market's up, so take that with a grain of salt. Let's see how SPY reacts here. If I wanted to, I could actually short again, but I'm going to leave what I have, and I think this is probably a potential fader as it is. So and the shares were not expensive to borrow, so when you're looking at shorting a stock and looking at that, what we've been noticing, and you can even go to look at like FSR. FSR is up today, I think. But even FSR, right? It had its push, and then it just the rest of the day. Even NNDM, go to NNDM. It's up today, sure. But the same thing yesterday. Had its push, and it fell off. Right? You go to XL Fleet from a couple weeks back. How far back was XL Fleet's push? Look at this. XL Fleet had a couple days, and then it faded off. So, I don't know. That's the thought process I think I kind of have on this one too. Not that I, just playing with what we've been seeing generally in the market right now. I'm using Webull. So, also you have to have a margin account to short. So, you can't short on a cash account. That is one thing also to note. So let's see. Now look at it's coming back down. I mean, I could have re-shorted those 10 shares that I covered in the low 14s. I could do that again if I really wanted to. But now as time goes on, VWAP starts to kind of slowly push up. So we'll see if that holds up. How are the other gainers doing today? WBT is kind of doing its thing. And this is probably, WBT is probably, I haven't looked into the news very deep, but probably if it falls below VWAP, it falls below like 21, I think at this point, falls below 2075, this thing probably can fall down to like 20 fairly easily. And I can see this thing fading off a little bit today. So that's another idea. Generally, right, the time that you don't want to be long, generally, when things slow down is like 11 a.m. Eastern until like 1 p.m. Eastern. And then things can start picking back on up in the after hours. So volume fades out, which many times shorts like to attack when the volume is low. So that is what it is. We'll be watching skills at least. I'll just see how this one plays out. I'm not looking to do anything stupid, but just let it kind of work. And let it fade off potentially. We'll see if we get that. But that was a pretty big move. I mean, this thing went from under 13 to almost 15, in a half hour. And I think that you may be looking at a slowdown. If volume starts fading off, I mean, I don't think the bulls will stay in here. If volume fades off, the bulls will probably lose interest. And that's it. And this also could be an opportunity, right? If you think about it, if you're someone who's been bag holding, you might have been in skills for a long time. You may have your opportunity to just bag hold. If you're bag holding this thing and you're like, I'm down so much, you get a day where you're up 13%, you might just take your profits. And so that's another idea. I think that we'll see this thing I'm hopeful we'll see a big reversal on this guy soon, but I think we can come down closer to $10. I think it could be a better spot personally. And I might even take this into my long-term account long. I'm not going to, we're just shorting, we're going off an example for a short that I've been kind of, I guess, experimenting with in a sense with the short side. So Nasdaq coming down a little bit off the highs, Dow a little bit off the highs, SPY a little bit fading off the highs a little bit. So I'll see how that plays into any stocks. Mogo is up decently today. Notice now hit the scanner here. Playboy is up. Playboy Group is up a lot. It's up 12%. Playboy's been strong. Look at that chart. Playboy has been very strong. AVGR, what is AVGR doing? AVGR is up 20% today. That's an interesting one. That one's pushing, yeah, one's pushing up. But a lot of these things fell right off. Look at ATHG. This thing, well, it's not in a bad spot if you want to take it up again, potentially. But, yeah. Interesting times. All right. That's it. I'm probably going to wrap things up, guys, pretty much. I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't too much going on. It was pretty quiet, but Green Day in the market, I would be cautious right now. Personally, I'm not buying puts, but I'm just, staying mostly cash. And you kind of can see by this example in a short right here. Now, I'm not looking to kind of short this thing down to $10, but I can look for a quick, 20-cent move down and 30-cent move down, take my scalp on a short and move on and maybe play it long, right? You can play the same stock all day. For example, Skills, if you get a bounce off the VWAP, I can cover my short here. And actually, I can put in an order to buy maybe 100 shares. And so that'll cover my 40 and it'll put me 60 long. And I can write it back on up long if I wanted to write it up. And I thought we'd see a bounce off VWAP for the rest of the day. You can do that too. So it's just playing both sides. As long as you're aware, I think it's been helpful to be aware of both sides. At least think in the short mindset, think in the long mindset. Where do you want to go? If you're a long, if I'm a long here, I'm buying this thing if it comes down to VWAP, right? Which would be under 14. That's where I look to cover. So at least that's my thought process. So hopefully it's helpful. Yeah, there'll probably be a video later today too. But that said, we'll see what happens. If there's something interesting that happens, we'll talk about it for sure. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm going to wrap things up really quick here, and we'll see how this plays out. Obviously, this, you guys will know if it hits that point, it worked out. If not, you can check back in and see how this progresses. I would probably look to stop myself out if we go for a high of the day. So I'm looking if this thing pushes back up to the high of the day, I'm stopping myself out. But that's it. I appreciate you guys. Hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.